take a moment to drop in together, allowing for the spine to have its natural four curves by sitting up on something. Maybe it's just a slight incline, maybe it's a folded blanket, maybe it's a bolster or a rock, or I'm on this rock that kind of gives me an incline. So if you're outside, just finding, and there's asymmetry to the landscape, finding a way in which your body can meet that asymmetry in a way that feels supportive and good. Like this position feels really good for me. There's so much happening right now around us, and as sensitive bodies, we may not always have capacity to allow ourselves to feel what's happening around us. We may not even have any awareness about it. And that's okay. Wherever we are, we're aware of all of the information that we're taking in. Or if we're not, this is just a chance to drop in a little bit and to find some safety and presence in the body. So feeling the sits bones rooted, yielding into the surface beneath you, feeling the crown of the head reaching toward the heavens. Feeling this opposition, this way to go deep and to rise. And recalling the video that I did, rooting through the pelvis to rise through the crown of the head. I'm going to tune into that breath awareness. As I take in the sounds around me, they're playing images across my closed eyes. And without really forcing anything, noticing your breath, notice what it's doing. You might play with the idea of what would it be like on the inhale to allow the lungs to move this way. So to move, or my lungs, to move this way. To move behind me. This expansion behind me. What does that feel like? I'm going to talk a little bit about our friend Psoas today. So you're feeling into ribcage moving, the lungs moving behind you. Psoas attaches into thoracic 12, which is the same vertebrae that our diaphragm attaches into. So now we can bring our awareness to the thoracic diaphragm, moving down on the inhale as our lungs move behind us. Psoas attaches into the lumbar spine, L1 through 5 as well, the transverse processes. Little spiny points, and the intervertebral discs as well. I won't get into too much detail here. And so as our diaphragm is moving down on the inhale, we can imagine it massaging the psoas. Then the psoas reaches through the front and attaches into the lesser trochanter of the thigh bone, of the femur. And so it's the main hip flexor. It's responsible for flexing the hip, either by lifting the leg or tilting forward. And so beyond the mechanics of the movement is sensitivity of Psoas. Liz Koch calls Psoas the organ of perception. We might even place our hands here. This is a sort of crossing point where we can feel into the tension that arises. I can't remember if it's a million or a billion. I talked about it in the tapping cortices video, but bits per second that we take in of information. And we only are able to consciously take in that information like 128 bits. So where is the rest of that information coming into? A lot of it's just coming into our body, into our fascial network, and our psoas. They're kind of these long suspender-like muscles. Look them up if you get a chance. They're so beautiful. And they help to keep us upright. They're, in many ways, our dignity muscles or organs. And they're intrinsically related to the nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So when we're able to drop into our breath, when we're able to drop into the parasympathetic nervous system, Psoas says, okay, I can release and relax. When we're in a constant state of fight or flight, it grips. And that's a very mechanical action that takes place, because fight or flight, if you think about it, if you have to fight, you have to be able to lift your knee or bend your knee or flex at the hips. If you have to run, same thing. And even if we're in a freeze state, Psoas grips. It's waiting. It's waiting to act. So with everything that's happening in the world around us, a lot of fear is coming up already in our day-to-day lives. We're in a go, 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 which activates our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight response, but even more now. So there's something, if we can take a moment to drop in and tune into the psoas. Inhaling, diaphragm yields down, massaging the psoas, and the pelvic floor yields upward. Exhaling, they yield away from one another. So let's see if you can tune in to psoas. Bring your breath awareness all the way down into the pelvis. And finding a surface to lie down on. It can be somewhat flat at first, but if you're outside on a relative here, you can spread yourself out and finding the shape of the rock. And we'll tune into what's happening with the breath again. Now feeling our back body pressed against the rock. So this is information. There's feedback as we inhale, feeling the rib cage, the back body pressing into the rock or into the earth or into the floor or into the bed. You're in a bed. As the rib cage is expanding and the diaphragm is dropping, we can bring breath awareness all the way down into the pelvis, exhaling, tracing the breath all the way back up as everything softens. You can place your hands somewhere on the rib cage or the belly. There are so many ways in which the breath can move you. And if somehow you can access Psoas, which is sometimes somewhat elusive, if you can access it with your breath, there is deep, deep connection with your body, a kind of understanding that circumnavigates cerebral understanding, analytical processes. It's deep embodiment. It's another language. And if you aren't already on an incline, and if this feels okay for your low back, maybe putting a cushion or a bolster underneath the sacrum, just to give a little bit more opening through the front body. This is called the Kwa in the Taoist framework right here. So often we spend so much time with this closed, sitting. So we're finding a way to open. And while we're doing this, our back body is softening into the earth, and there's deep surrender to the sky. This is probably one of the most vulnerable positions as an animal body that we could be in. We're very exposed. If you're gripping anywhere around the throat, collarbone, face. And then bending the knees. Ooh, this is nice. And rather than letting the knees fall in on one another, pointing the knees up toward the sky, but see if you can make this almost as effortless as possible. There's still a certain amount of tone required, but barely anything to keep the legs where they are. And feeling into this place again. And you might, not right beneath the xiphoid process, but a little bit lower, because that's a painful place to press, a little bit lower. You might just take your fingers and press into the diaphragm here a little bit, kind of scooping on the exhale. Softening shoulders. It's nice when you have your friend Brad, who's a rolfer, do this for you. I just got a rolfing session the other day, and he did this, and I could just feel Psoas just like draping. So Psoas is slack right now, and by giving a little pressure, some sounds. We can release a lot of energy and tension through vocalization. Maybe a nice little sloshing here. Sloshing, shaking, rocking, palpating the belly. Shaking helps to release tension too. I did a good shaking practice with the class I was leading yesterday, and I could just feel Psoas letting go. Maybe just a little lifting of the pelvis and dropping. Getting some information, feedback here. Wah, 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 wah. Making any sounds that feel good or interesting. Wah. We hold back so much because of manners and society. And this is like the best thing we could do for our body and the best thing we could do for humanity. By taking care of ourselves and being embodied so that we can show up. We can show up in the world. What's locked in your pelvis? What's locked in your psoas? It doesn't even need to make sense. It could be ancient. Feet pressing into the rock or the earth to also find the grounding. Anything that's coming up, letting it come up out through the top of the head. Really good to be outside for this because it helps hold you. Sometimes complete catharsis is a lot, and integrating that process. You need the support of the land. Because the land is an extension of our body. We are the land. Coming back down. Feel a little buzzing through the center of my hands. I'm also feeling into the kidney 1 point. Breathing it down, breathing down from the kidney 1 point into the rock. Coming up into a seated position and making sure that the hips are higher than the knees. thank you for your courage to be in your body.